Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you didn't see the last one, we went through and ground all that Bondo out, got some new Bondo on there, fixed some stuff in the roof. So we're just gonna pick this on up right here, and I'll link that one up in the corner if you want to check that one out. So we gotta sand this out. That one should be pretty close. We gotta sand out that roof there. And those are just pretty shallow dents, so that should be good. And then I think there's a little, I don't know if we're going to need to actually put any filler in there. I'm just going to sand that out, block that out, see if we can get that close enough for just high build primer. And then on this side, I went ahead and just filled that little dent there. There's a little one. If you can see this chip here, I'm just going to grind that out. Just put just a smidge of filler in there. And then there's this one on top of the fender here. So I'm going to see if I can get up underneath it with a dolly and see if I can beat that out at all. If not, I'll just put a dab of filler on that too. And then we should be able to lay some primer on it. I'm going to hold off on fixing these doors because I really don't like these mirrors. I hate these mirrors that are on the actual door. I'm gonna try to find a set of doors with the mirrors here instead, because I was originally gonna fill those holes in, but I don't know. It's a lot of work. There's a big ass hole here, but they have a plug, and this door has got a pretty big dent there. And we're gonna see if I can find any different panels too. I know they make like the suede or whatever it is. It's not just this fake leather crap. So I'm gonna see what I can find. Parts for these things are getting hard to find these days. So, and then obviously we need a fender, and I really don't want to go aftermarket. I'd rather buy a used OEM fender, and I know it'd fit. So let's get to, I guess first what I'm going to do is get these other little dents figured out and then get Bondo on that, and while that's drying I can come through, sand these areas that I've already done. So let's get to it. Alright guys, got that thing knocked out quite a bit. So it's just super shallow, but it's hard to get that dolly up in there because there's another brace underneath this fender. So I think high build primer will probably fill that in. So I'm gonna skip Bondo here. I might sand some of this stuff down and shoot a little bit of primer on it. And as far as this dent here, I'm gonna sand that out, see how deep that is. I can't really get to the back side of it obviously without ripping the entire interior apart, so might just put just a touch of Bondo on that one just to bring it out a little bit. Alright guys, got that sanded down, and you can see it's mainly just a big chip. So what I'm going to do is just take a wire wheel, make sure there's no rust or anything in there, and then I just got some spot putty that I'm going to use, since that stuff you don't have to actually grind all the paint off, get it down to bare metal. Alright guys, went around, sanded everything down. There's some chips I need to fill and a couple little real small dents to fill in. Show you this front fender here. So all these little tiny chips like that can be filled with some glaze I got, and this is pretty close. I'm going to put just a little bit at the bottom of that, fill that in, and just kind of go around filling all these little chips and little tiny scratches, stuff like that. So I'll show you what I'm using for that. So all the little minor imperfections, I'm using this finishing glaze. This stuff, I mean, for little chips and stuff like that, Bondo's way overkill. This stuff will fill it in just fine. and you don't have to actually take it all the way down to bare metal. So mix up some of this, fill in all those little chips, and then once that's dry we can go around and sand all the Bondo, all these little chips with this glaze, and we should be good for some primer. Alright guys, I'm going to stop right there. It's still a little bit flat around this corner here. You can see there's low spots right in the center here. So I'm going to hit that one more time. That should be good to go. And then this should be ready to go. It's all feathered out. And I actually took a straight edge, ran it across there, and it looks really straight. So we're going to call that done. So I just got to go around, give that a little bit more time to cure up, and then we could sand all these areas. Alright guys, this stuff's all done, ready to go. I'm going to use a DA just to knock all the extras off. And I'm going to go over this with a high build primer, so I'll block that out to make sure it's flat. But with all these little chips, that DA is going to be just fine going over that. So let's get all that sanded out. Alright guys, we are ready for some primer. So, got everything ready, wiped it down a little bit. Now I'm just going to go mask off some of the areas, like definitely mask around these windows and the rear window. But since we're just spot priming, it's not that big of a deal, since a lot of it's going to be sanded off anyway. Alright guys, got this thing ready, so wipe it down with some prep all, just to basically a degreaser, make sure there's nothing on the surface. Alright, so what I'm using is some Omni, it's a high build 2K primer surfacer, so mix that up real good. Alright guys, gun's all loaded up. Make sure you get a test piece and just give a quick squirt on there, adjust your pattern and pressure and everything, and then we can get to shooting some primer. So I'm not priming everything. This stage is just to prime over what we've messed with. So obviously all that bare metal, and then just all this Bondo, spot prime everything that needs it. Alright guys, got this all spot primed, so wait till tomorrow. We'll give it overnight to harden up, and then we can sand it all. But everything so far looks pretty good. You can get a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like just by looking at it before you even sand it. So it's looking pretty decent over here. I got a few areas that might need a little bit of work on the bottom, but for the most part that looks pretty good. So we'll get out here tomorrow, get some sanding done on it and see what we're looking like. Alright guys, now the next morning, let's get some sanding done on this thing. So I'm going to start off on the fender here, see what this looks like. Alright guys, fender sanded out. Turned out perfect. Can't see any of these little dents on top here. Perfectly flat. So, should be good to go here. Alright guys, this side's all good to go for the most part. All this up here is good. Nice and smooth. There is one, probably not going to be able to see it on the camera. There's one little tiny low spot right here. And then I had to do quite a bit of sanding down here to get that flat. So I'm going to just use just a touch of spot putty on this. And then just get some more primer because I got Bondo showing through and bare metal. And then also on the roof had a couple little tiny low spots too. So I'm just going to hit those with some of this glazing putty. Yeah, this is a different one. The other one I had was old and I didn't really trust it. So I'm just going to start fresh with a brand new putty. So I'm going to throw that on there, let it dry, and then we can sand it and prime it again. Alright guys, got all these little areas sanded. Just little tiny touch-ups. And then on the roof too, there's a couple little low areas. So it's all masked up, guns loaded up. Let's throw a few coats on here and we should be good. Alright guys, that last primer we put on there, good to go. It's been a few hours. It says like 3 hours to sand, so let's get this stuff sanded up. And look what I got in the mail. So I bought this whole Durablock kit that comes with a bunch of different sanding blocks. And the one I'm most excited about is this round one here. Because down in here where it's real deep and round, that's going to be perfect for sanding in there. I was having issues with the square blocks, trying to get actually in this bottom of this. I couldn't really get in there, so that's going to make that much easier. And then we got a couple other smaller ones here. I think there's two smaller ones for there. And then this big bad boy, which this is going to be super nice for when you do your final sand. You want one that's pretty stiff. I mean, this thing is pretty solid, so it keeps your surface nice and flat. It doesn't work itself into the little grooves and divots. And then for smaller areas, got a longer block here that's a little thinner. So I'm excited to try these things out. I'm gonna bust out a couple of these. Get that bottom section sanded, and then I'm going to use this big one on the roof, and that'll be super nice. Another good thing about these bigger ones, if you have the room to do it, it sands a lot faster because you have twice as much paper on the actual paint, and then being stiff, more of a rigid block, it'll actually sand it a lot flatter too. So let's try these things out. Alright, she's all sanded out, looking good. So this turned out pretty good. Looks pretty straight. Body lines look good. So definitely should do the job. So if you guys need any blocks, I'll link all this stuff down in the description. It helps out a lot, actually. I was surprised, especially that round one going inside that curve there helped out a lot. So I got another question for you guys about fender. So I was actually looking, and this fender is aftermarket. It is not the factory fender, and it actually fits really good. I was surprised. So I'm wondering if I should just buy an aftermarket for this side. Let me know if you guys have had any good luck with aftermarket fenders, because I need to do something with this, obviously. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.